Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you guys are watching this. It's Javi here, and today we're gonna look at our main focus in this video is obviously gonna be Florence, the elephant in the room, because it seems to be the only imminent threat to land over the next several days, and it seems to be the most could be potentially disastrous for the southeast and possibly the east coast. We still need to wait and see because there's still a lot of uncertainty. I'll just go over the other tropical depressions real quick. Tropical Depression 9 could strengthen into a hurricane. The Caribbean needs to watch. Helene doesn't seem to be much of an issue as it seems to be going up north. Gordon dropping a lot of rain, and then we have this random disturbance near Bermuda that has a low % chance of developing. But now let's talk about Tropical Storm Florence, which as of the 11 o'clock advisory has weakened to a 60-mile-per-hour storm, and its millibar pressure is at 999 millibars, so nearly 1,000. So as you can see based off of the satellite imagery is that it looks very sheared. It doesn't really look organized. It basically just looks like a tropical storm basically on life support off of the hurricane. And you can tell that there's strong upper level winds interfering with this storm based on where these thunderstorms are going, because unlike a usual hurricane or tropical cyclone, you could easily see the spin around the center of circulation, or at least thunderstorms developing in all areas, but you could easily see that the wind shear is blowing it way to the north. Most of the outflow is coming out from the north due to this strong persisting wind shear that is basically just breaking this storm apart. However, that is quickly about to change as I'm going to show you right now the current wind shear map of the Atlantic, and you can see it's under strong wind shear, but as it moves more and more towards west, it's going to encounter more favorable conditions, less wind shear, and it's almost going to be non-existent, the wind shear and upper level winds in that area, which is a huge worry in my opinion, because think about this. Tropical storm, or before Hurricane Florence, strengthened into a Category 4 hurricane over upper 70 to 80 degree water in the middle of the Atlantic. And this water ahead of it, assuming there's little to no wind shear, is in the mid 80s to upper 80s, which is definitely going to strengthen it more, and it's definitely a huge worry because I could easily see rapid intensification as it heads to the coast wherever it does, and that's going to be a huge worry because a lot of the East Coast isn't used to seeing potentially major hurricanes like this, and we're hoping that this wind shear to the north just near Bermuda is gonna maybe hinder it from rapid intensification for a little bit, but as the computer models are saying, and most of them are agreeing, that this is going to rapidly intensify and it's likely going to become a major hurricane up ahead. So you could see that it's gonna go into favorable conditions, and it's definitely not going to be good for the time ahead. And now let's look at the computer models, because even though I'm going to say this, it's likely that Florence will make landfall in the United States because now it seems unlikely that this is going to go out to sea it seems nearly impossible, I would say. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say there is about an 80% chance of a U.S. landfall, because I don't see this storm getting anywhere with this huge ridging that's just to the north. And it's just extremely worrying. I'm telling you, in the south, prepare now. Get those gas tanks ready. Get all your food supplies ready now. And the positive thing is that there's still a lot of days till this hits. Probably 5-6 days until it might impact the Carolina coast. And if you're in the northeast, if it goes to the northeast, the chances are looking less likely. But if it does hit the northeast, it's even better. It's 7 days. You got basically a whole week to prepare. Don't waste your time. Don't procrastinate. Just do it now before everyone does it, and and you're gonna be in deep trouble if you don't prepare now and those supplies are gone. And I'm gonna show you the ridging right now based on the European model, and you could see that this as of like right now, and this dip in the jet stream was hopefully gonna drop down and pull this thing out to sea, but it seems unlikely at this point. The ridging towards European and African areas is way too strong for that to happen. And plus we got another very strong area of high pressure coming from Canada, and this pressure is insanely high. It's at 1032 millibars compared to the other high pressures, and you see what I mean. This ridge of high pressure is definitely strong, and that's a huge worry since it's unlikely that this is gonna move out to sea very easily because of this strong wind shear. And you could see there's nowhere for this to go. And what's even worse, to add insult to injury, is that there's no type of cold front, there's no type of trough to really steer this thing very quickly. So once it makes, because the closest trough that's closest to the Tropical Storm Florence, which would be Hurricane Florence at this point, is all the way towards Western Canada. That's not going to come, especially since another area of high pressure is going to form over Eastern Canada, blocking this trough. So we could have a very slow moving storm in the East Coast, which could cause extensive flooding, and that's a huge worry in my opinion, because it's already been in a wet summer along the East Coast, and adding a hurricane, not only a powerful hurricane, but a hurricane that's slow moving, this could potentially be devastating for the East Coast, even if you don't get directly hit by the strongest of the storm. For example, Houston missed out on the eye of the storm, the worst part of the storm, during Harvey back in 2016, which was a 130 mile per hour hurricane. But since Tropical Storm Harvey stayed over Houston for such a long time, even though it was considered weak, it just dropped so much rain that it caused complete devastation to Houston, and it's now known as one of the world's most costliest disasters in world history. So I'm not saying that this is going to be another Harvey in any sense, but this could be very similar to that. And if at worst case scenario, unfortunately, it could be another Harvey, especially since the East Coast isn't used to this much rain, especially since there's in the East Coast, there's not much instability during the summer to create extremely wet summers like in the South. So bringing a hurricane, and a strong hurricane, slow moving, in an area where the weather moves very fast along the East Coast due to the westerly winds, that's a huge worry. And the westerly winds are going to be nearly non-existent for the East Coast during this time due to this very rare ridging we're seeing just to the north of it. And I'm going to progress, let me go on. And then the European is expecting a landfall right around Myrtle Beach. So there's still a lot of possibilities with this. I'm going to show you the current computer model forecast. And this is a European. You could see a whole range of options this hurricane could go. The best case scenario, which even that seems like the best case scenario in this situation, even the best case scenario seems deadly, because it's still gonna come uncomfortably close to the East Coast, while the GFS is taking more of a mid-Atlantic threat, Virginia, maybe Maryland, and even New Jersey. So New England, Northeast, don't put your guard down just yet. But the European, known to be the slightly more reliable model, is taking more of a southern track, but there's still a whole wide array of models that are taking it to North Carolina, Virginia, the Delmarva Peninsula, New Jersey, etc., to the Northeast. So do not let your guard down anywhere. Even inland, I'm talking about Charlotte, Atlanta, those places, even as far west as Pittsburgh needs to be watching this, because this could potentially be a heavy rain threat for the Asia. But thank you guys.